Morgan Carroll was recently elected by the House Dems as Majority Caucus Chair. She serves in the State House or Senate, I don't know which Morgan, but anyway, she's an amazing speaker. And of all the rallies that I've ever come to, Morgan Carroll is the only politician that had the guts to show up and come and speak out against this war. So without further ado, Morgan Carroll.
Well, thank you for coming out today. We have some terrific groups represented here today, and it's actually a very sad occasion to really imagine that this much time has gone on and the need to still be here to speak up against this war is as great as ever. Every day is coming with a cost that we can't honestly repair. I wanted to tell you that, quite honestly, we have a lot to grieve over what is going on right now. We have lost a lot in this country, and it's going to take a long time, if ever, before we can truly get to the state of right on repairs. I am here today to join you in support because I oppose this war, and I am asking us to end this war. And I want to know how many of you are here today are calling for an end to this war in Iraq. I think we have some people in D.C. who can't hear us, so how many people are here to end this war in Iraq? All right, so getting accurate statistics and data and numbers, never an easy trick, particularly when you have a dishonest and secretive administration, but let's take a stab at this. As of this morning, our national debt has now risen to $9 trillion for the United States of America. The current cost of the U.S. war in Iraq, just through today, and just what we know about, is $463 billion on this failed and immoral enterprise just to date. $463 billion of our money for that war. One estimate I've seen is that Colorado's share of that impact on what it is costing us in this state, just in Colorado, to date for this war, is $7 billion just from this state, and that is probably low. As of this morning, CNN, which is not necessarily a great liberal media enterprise, reports as of this morning that the latest projected figures for the war on terror overall is projected to reach $2.4 trillion before we may be done with this. So let's put this into some perspective on what this means about the choices we've made or failed to make in this country and around the world. Our spending on this war, and let me just be clear about the figure I'm talking about, just the $460 billion we've spent just through today exceeds the entire annual gross domestic product of 155 countries. And that's out of 179 that are listed, and this is actually coming from the CIA World Factbook. So I'm using their numbers. The gross domestic product on this war has this cost of this war has exceeded the gross domestic product for 155 entire countries on everything they spend on everything, let alone on the question of war and peace. So out of this money, you know what? Money's not infinite, and we have made a lot of trade-offs along the way, and I hate to emphasize the cost aspect, but there is a moral aspect to the cost, and where we're putting our money, every dollar is a dollar that is not going elsewhere. Furthermore, I don't have to tell this group that out of the money that has been spent, I've seen a figure that's looking at about $60 billion in privatized contracts. And while we have perhaps privatized portions of the military before, we have never before privatized so many basic functions. And there's a fine line, let's just face it, between having a public military defense and private mercenaries for corporations overseas. 16% of this war has been privatized, and at some point, you know, we've privatized prisons, we've privatized, you know, there's almost no end in sight, and you know when we're ready to privatize our military, that we've definitely gone too far. So out of the 16% of the war effort that has been privatized so far, and this is the tip of the iceberg, these investigations are just beginning, but out of what we already know, which is just the tip of the iceberg, $21 billion right now is in question for scrutiny for fraud. So we not only have an immoral war that we were lied to about, that the people have been lied to about, where our money is being used instead of taking care of the human and civil rights needs we have at home and abroad, is actually being used to further this war. But that money that's being taken has further gone on to basically be one example of another after fraud and mismanagement and corruption. So let's talk about this in a little bit of sense of what our trade-offs would be. On that cost of the war, just through today, that $463 billion could have added at least 13 million new teachers around the United States of America. And I did a little math, so I'm not a math major, but let me just point out we've got an estimated 49 million kids in K through 12 around this country. That funding would have been enough to reduce each and every classroom size across the entire United States of America by 3 or 4 kids per teacher in the entire United States of America. That money would have been enough for 22 million students in the United States of America to receive a 4-year scholarship to a public university. Yeah! The price of what we have spent in this ill-gotten war to date would have gotten us 46 million new people insured in the United States of America. And by the way, that happens to be the exact same number of people we have uninsured in the United States of America.